thankful for her wavy stories. Hold on to the lifetime we won't get back. I know these rivers carry on. People tend to stick to you after time. Places tend to do the same as we do. This river carries on and on.
Hello and welcome to Kankakee Podcast, where we talk about the people and places of Kankakee County. I'm Jake LaMore, and back in September or August, it was the end of the summer of 2021, I was invited to play some kickball with the Kankakee Public Library, their teen zone. They have a special group or a special, like I said, they call it a teen zone, specifically for teenagers to, have activities to do and a place to go. And one thing that they had been doing throughout the summer was having these kickball games with community leaders. And somehow, I don't know how I ended up in that category. I don't really consider myself to be a leader, but regardless, I was invited to go there for one of the kickball teams, and one of the wonderful people I met there that was also there was Derek Grant, and that's who's with us today. It was so good to meet you, Derek, and I'm glad that we're able to sit down and talk.
Yeah, it was a great meeting, and it was great seeing everybody out there. All of the community leaders, and I think the mayor was out there as well.
Mayor Curtis was out there.
Curtis was out there.
Let's see. Well, Kent Wade showed up during the first, middle or end of the first game. So he did make an appearance. People are probably familiar with him since he's been a guest on the podcast too.
Oh, okay.
And then some of the other people, I know that, we briefly met, like, oh, hi, my name's Jake, or their name, but I don't remember specifically who they were.
Some of the people was from the library.
Yeah.
Some of the teen zone people that run that area of the library.
I just forgot. I need to give you a round of applause. I do that to all my guests. But yeah, welcome, Derek Grant. And you definitely are more of a community leader, I would say, than I am. You're welcome. I was very curious to know more about you. You have your brand. I don't know if that's what you call it, but your organization, your, brand is Apply Pressure.
Apply Pressure, the brand.
Yeah, and that is what, because I had asked you when we had met, I was like, oh, what does that mean? And you kind of explained it to me in a sentence. And I was like, that sounds awesome. I was like, that's cool. I like that. So it just made me like, oh, it's like, I got to sit down with Derek and we got to talk. So,
yeah, definitely.
So let's start. Where does life begin for you?
Life began for me, I would start probably in my early teenage years.
Well, where were you? Were you born here in Kankakee?
Yes, I was born and raised here. Well, not raised. Let me say not fully raised. I left about maybe 13, and me and my mother moved to Joliet.
Okay.
I lived in Joliet for about maybe a little bit over 10 years, maybe close to 15 years.
Okay.
So I'm kind of a Joliet resident, a Will County resident as well.
Yeah.
But my roots has always been here. My family has always been here. I have an older brother and an older sister. My mother is still alive. My father passed away when I was 10. So yeah, mostly, cousins and everything like that are all still here.
So when you were growing up in Kankakee, what did your parents do for a living? What was life like for you growing up in Kankakee and Joliet, I guess?
Yeah. Well, like I said, when I was 10 years old, my father died of cancer. He had a certain type of bone cancer.
Which you don't hear about too often, and I'm sorry to hear that.
No, you don't. It's kind of rare, I believe. It's like a bone marrow cancer that he suffered from. He spent a lot of his years working at Shapiro, from what I remember.
Okay. What did he do at Shapiro?
That I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure what he did at Shapiro, but he worked there for a lot of years. That's something I'm gonna have to talk to my mother about.
How old was he when he passed? To get bone cancer like that?
He died in 95, so he had to be maybe 45, 44. Somewhere around there.
That's young.
Yeah. He was young. He was still had a lot of life to live.
Yeah.
At 45.
In those kind of cases, you just wonder if a person is exposed to something to make that cancer appear, whether it's through work or anything like that.
I know he retired, well, not retired, but he last time he, was working was for Shapiro, but my mother did tell me he worked at other factories and stuff like that in town. So maybe, I think most of like cancer like that would be like radiation.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah, I think maybe like long terms of radiation exposure. And, probably back when he was, working, they didn't have like certain guidelines or, like to not be around in this area, cover up, like we have now.
Yeah, I mean, it was better than it was maybe in like the 1970s or so. But that could have been when he was working in those places though. Yeah, I mean 1970s versus, 2021. I mean, yeah, OSHA is up your butt.
Yeah. So he was born in 1950. My mother was born in 1952, so in 1970, I think he'd be like in his 20s somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And there would have been quite a few factories open in Kankakee at that time.
Yeah.
So, what do you remember about your dad growing up? I mean, in your early life.
It's weird because my brother, he's the oldest, and then it's my sister, and then it's me. And my brother, he was telling me, like, asked me the same question, actually. And I told him I don't remember a lot about him. And he would tell me stories, and he'd be like, how do you not remember? How do you not remember this? And he'll tell me, like, I think you have this thing that's called suppressed memories. That because I was 10 years old when he died, and what he thinks is that my mind, just to protect me as a child, I suppressed the memories of him, and I didn't want to, deal with it. So my memory is very vague of my father. I know that he loved me. I know he was there. I seen him all the time, from what I remember. But certain things of his character, I can't remember.
So when he passed away, age 10, what happened then? What were you thinking in your mind? Because now I'm very curious with you're talking about like the suppressing of, you don't remember a lot. So it almost sounds like things you remember more from when you were, well, I guess at least when it pertains to your father, though, you don't remember things before. But yeah, at age 10, when your father died, what were your thoughts and feelings on it? Were you sensitive to it? Did you just kind of go about your?
I kind of just went about just life. My other siblings and even my mother described my demeanor at the time as just like emotionless. Like I didn't show no emotion. I didn't cry.
Were they very emotional?
They were.
Okay.
They were. But when they describe me, they say you're just like not even there. Like it didn't even happen. Like it was just.
Did you feel like you needed to be the strong one of the bunch at that time and not show emotion?
I think so. As a kid, I wanted to be. My mother I seen her cry a lot. Seen her at times where she, would just kind of go off somewhere else, and she would be crying. And I knew it was because my father was not there, because, you know, she missed him, and being married, you know, at my young mind at the time was just like, I know she misses my father, but now as an older person, that bond that you have before having children, they were married, you know, you had this life, and then now you've got children, and then you want to go your whole life.
Yeah, it's always supposed to be for forever and ever until, you know, you're in your 90s or whatever, right?
Not at 45.
Well, no. Mm-mm.
Not
Absolutely not.
So.
No, it's just so soon, so sudden. So your father passes, then what happens with your family? What happens with, you guys are still in Kankakee at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next?
My brother is 6 years older than me. My sister is 4 years older than me.
So you're the baby?
I'm the baby.
Me too, man. I hear you.
Yeah, shout out to the babies, man.
Shout out to the babies. Yep, that's me.
Yeah, we're a special bunch.
We really are.
We're a special bunch.
I'm just glad I wasn't the middle.
Yeah, my sister's the middle, and she's the only girl too.
I'm sorry, Joe, if you're listening to this. I'm so sorry, Joe. But I'm thankful I'm not the middle. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to be you, but you know,
it's something different about the last baby. Like, you know, we're probably more spoiled a little bit. I'll admit that. I'm a little spoiled as I was growing up. But yeah, my brother is 6 years older than me, and my sister is 4. So when my father passed, when I was 10, he was 16. He had his first child, my brother. So he became a father. And as you can imagine, a 10-year-old and a 16-year-old that just became a father, me and my brother didn't have anything in common. So he was my older brother, but then it was like we were so distant. And he had his own thing that he was going through with the death of my father, and maybe he didn't, you know, connect with my father the way he wanted. You know how, you know, that thing of like, you know, people pass and we like, man, I wish I had done this.
Yes.
I wish I had to spend time with my father. And him being older, he had a more developed mind than I did, so he probably took it more harder than me. And him becoming a father at 16, he kind of dove like right into that to try to, you know, be like our dad. So, but in that, he kind of distanced himself away from me as being a brother. Not to say he didn't love me, but I see now that he had his own way of like, you know, dealing with the trauma, the pain of, you know, of my father passing.
I mean, that's a hell of a, you know, your dad, your father just passes away, then you become a father. That's a lot to...
It was within a year.
I can't imagine how emotional of a time that would have been for your brother.
Yeah. It was tough for him. And but I dove in, and it actually helped me too, because I became an uncle.
Yeah.
And
being an uncle is just one of the coolest things.
Isn't
man.
it cool?
Yeah, I love it.
My brother now has 4 kids, and they love Uncle Derek. It's always Uncle Derek, Uncle Derek. And my oldest nephew is 25.
Okay.
And then it goes down to 20, and then 18, and then 17, I believe. I may be wrong. I may be wrong.
Well, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But yeah, and then my sister, she was like a year, maybe 2 years after him, she became a mother. So I'm like, you know, and then they're moving out of the house. You know, my brother moved out first, and then 2 years later, my sister, she's gone. So it's just me and Mom. And my mom worked up north, so she worked in Joliet. So she would drive back and forth from Kankakee
Joliet.
to Joliet.
Okay. Yeah.
So once they were, you know, pretty much grown and they had their own family, my mom made a decision that, you know, it was too hard for her to keep going back and forth. So
and costly too.
Yeah.
You know, all the wear and tear on your car, gas money.
Yeah.
It only made sense.
Yeah, so she moved, and that's when she moved me and her to Joliet. I had to be about maybe 13, 14 years old by that time.
So starting to become a man at that time, being a teenager, they always say that's when you're becoming,
Yeah. Yeah.
coming of the age, and not having a father in your life. Did you have any father figures in your life? Or was it just your mom, or?
It was just my mom. She made a decision when she went to Joliet, and I knew she was trying to do what was best for me and her. But when I moved to Joliet, it was no family. It was no big brother. My brother stayed in Kankakee with his family.
All of your other siblings were back in Kankakee.
So it was just me and my mom in a new city.
And right, you don't know anybody.
Don't know nobody. She doesn't know anybody. So we was just like fresh start. And it was, I became mad at my mom. I was super mad. I was mad. I was like, you took me away from my town. You took me away from my friends, after, my father passed. And it was like, I was like really wanting to connect with all my friends that I was with. So you made this decision, you didn't talk to me, and you just did this. So I was mad at my mom at the time. At the time, I didn't want to speak to her. It was just like, how thoughtless of you to do that, to just move.
So how did you act with that anger?
I rebelled. I rebelled against her. Like, I wouldn't do good in school. I was horrible in school. I would just walk out of class. I didn't want to do anything to get sent home. And then just not only that, the city of Joliet opened up my mind to different, aspects of the world, because though Kankakee is a town where like we all know each other and it's fairly small, Joliet is quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, I've always considered Kankakee to be like a miniature version of Joliet. They're very similar, but Joliet's a lot bigger.
Right. It is. It's like Kankakee is like a smaller version of Joliet, pretty much. So me going to a bigger city, now my mind is like, okay, I'm used to Kankakee. This is different. The schools are bigger. Joliet Central is huge. It looks like a castle.
It does. I always thought so. Every time I've been by it, I'm like, man, this place is big. I feel like I'm going to Hogwarts or something. It's like...
I'm thinking like medieval times or something. And I'm like, what is this? Is this the high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's huge, and now they've added more to it, so it's a lot more bigger. But yeah, it was a lot more that I was exposed to too, in a different lifestyle. So it was gangs there and stuff like that. So I got myself involved with the wrong people. So like as far as with like father figure or another male influence, there was guys, but they were not the good influence, because my life was just like going the opposite way, just because I was mad at my mother.
Yeah, and you're thinking in your teenage mind at that time, she didn't consult me. She didn't ask me if I wanted to move here. She didn't ask me if I was okay with that. And so it's like the one person that you're closest to and you trust is that kind of broke that line for you. It sounds like, so it kind of opens up that door to whatever else. So you got, how did the gangs, how did you get involved with people that were you in a gang, or just hung out with people that were in them? How did...
I did eventually, and it was crazy how I learned about it, because I had it was picture day. And I do love like wearing red. It's just
it's your color.
It's just my color.
Okay.
And I didn't
maybe it's I don't know, the Bulls or something. I mean,
it's something, I don't know. It was just, I just liked wearing red.
I guess I just think of, you're older than me, but we're still grew up in that era of the Bulls,
Yeah.
and they were red. So it's like,
I mean, yeah, and we're not that far from Chicago. So it's like, that's the team. That's the basketball team. So a lot of people wear red just.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people wore red at that time, even if it was, it was like, had nothing to do with the Bulls. I think we just all saw a lot of red all the time.
It was like subliminal messaging, red.
Yeah, we were just attracted to red because we were constantly seeing it because of the Chicago Bulls.
Because of the Bulls, right. And you probably, like, if you went to, like, other cities where, like, their team is, like, different, like the Lakers or something, you probably go there and see a lot of people wearing purple.
Or purple,
or gold or something like that.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like subliminal messaging, seeing the red all the time.
So it's picture day and you're wearing red.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not knowing that, I'm not familiar with gangs.
Oh, man.
I don't know nothing about gangs. I didn't know. So I had all red on. I had a red shirt, red pants, and red B boots. They used to be popular.
So you were did you have a red hat on too?
No, I didn't have a red hat.
Well, you're probably not allowed to wear hats, I would imagine.
No, it was the wicker chair pictures. Or you sit in that big chair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was leaving school that day for picture day. And I'm walking out. I'm thinking I'm just the, sharpest guy, in the school. Like, look, I'm matching head to toe.
Oh, man.
And there's a street in Joliet called Larkin Street.
Yeah.
And it's right on, because I was going to West at the time.
Okay.
I was going to Joliet West. So, and I lived in an apartment complex called Larkin Village. That's right off of Larkin Street. And similar to like how Court Street is, like if you left from the junior high school and then if you lived in like the Marycrest area, you have to, you see the kids walking down the street under the viaduct and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it was. So I'm leaving out and it was like 5 guys start, following me.
Okay.
And it was like, hey, what's up, man? What's up? Why you got all that red on? I'm like, because I like red. Because I like red.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, what gang you claiming? What gang you claiming? I'm like, I'm not in a gang. I'm not in a gang. Like, yeah, okay, we'll see. And I've started like walking fast, and these guys are like really like coming up close on me, but they're like, and it was at a distance at first, and they're yelling at me. So now it becomes a foot pursuit all the way down Larkin.
They start chasing
Yes,
you.
they start chasing me. And before I can get home, they caught me. And man, that was like the worst whooping of my life.
So they were from a gang that was a rival, apparently, to whoever wears red? Is that?
Well,
yeah. So how did it end up being? What gang wears red?
So, from what I understood then at the time, it was that the Vice Lord gang wore red, and then the GD gang wore blue. So,
and were those guys wearing blue?
And they were wearing, some of them were, not all of them. They was like kind of black, wearing various colors.
Sure.
But because I was just like this bright red stop sign.
Yeah, right. It was everything was red.
Everything was red. So I didn't think, I'm like, I've heard about stuff like that, but I'm like, that's in California.
Yeah. I've heard of stuff like that too.
Yeah, and I wasn't thinking, but I learned that day. And like I said, that was the worst beating I got in my life. And being beat up like that and then going home, my mom, because she worked so much, she was always like either asleep or she was, at work.
Yeah.
And
what's your mom do for a living?
She was an RN.
Oh, okay.
She did private home duty nursing, where she took care of a young man that was on a ventilator. He was paralyzed from the neck down.
Wow.
And she took care of him. I want to say at least till he was like 22, but she started when he was like 2.
Oh, so that was like a son
Yeah,
to her.
that was like a son to her. Yeah, and she talked about him all the time.
Did you ever meet him?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I met him. He was really nice. He was only supposed to live, I think, to about 10 years old. And because of the good care and treatment that my mom did for him, it extended his life. Unfortunately, he passed, I think, at 21 or 22.
Oh, right at that time.
Yeah,
But still, that's about 10 years past.
Past where the
what-
doctors had told him where he would,
Yeah.
he was going to, pretty much not go past that age.
Mm-hmm.
But he did, So my mom, she, like I said, she did what she thought was right, and that's all a parent, now as a parent, I understand that. You do what you think is right for your kids. So.
And then sometimes that comes back at you later in life.
It does.
Yeah. So so after, you get jumped, you get attacked, you get beat up. Is your mom doesn't see this?
No,
Does
because
she know about it? Did you ever end up telling her about it?
when I got grown, I did.
When you got grown, you did. Okay.
As a kid, I didn't because I was still mad at her.
Yeah.
I was still mad at her, and
As well, I would probably, especially after that.
I soaked in my wounds, and I told myself, I said, you know what, that I have to make some friends out here, because that's crazy, that, and that's still, and that's like bullying. Like I hate that stuff. I hate that stuff.
So what happened after that then? What happened even like the next day?
The next day, I just went back to school. I had to go back to school. The guys still bothered me. They still, pretty much bullied me, always kind of approached me. They wouldn't listen to me for anything. I saw one of them and I was like, hey, man, I'm not with any gang, right?
Did you ditch red after that?
I did not wear red for years.
Yeah, I bet not.
For years.
Yeah.
I was like traumatized almost, and I would never wear red.
I don't see you wearing red today.
No.
So,
I wear red now, though. I do. I mean, but I mix it up.
Yeah, you got to keep it, fresh, right?
Yeah, you got to. And it's about like Kent Wade is promotes shaking fear.
Yeah.
You got to shake the fear, man. and just, if that was something that, made me afraid, now I wear it proudly. Like, I don't walk in that light anymore.
So when you kept getting bullied by this group, so were they GD then?
Yeah.
In a gang called GD?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gangster Disciples.
So they were in Gangster Disciples. Now, at that point, were you like, okay, I need to join a gang just to get protection?
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what it was. And then the crazy thing about it is that I joined the gang that was actually beating me up.
So you joined Gangster Disciples.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was.
That's why. How did that happen?
Right.
That's not what I was expecting. I thought you were going to join a gang that was, rival.
Opposite,
Yeah.
No, I was
so
like,
how did that
no,
happen?
I'm finna be on you guys' team.
Right? So did you get bullied into being in the GD or?
No, actually, a friend of mine, he passed away maybe about 3 years ago. He was the first person I befriended in Joliet. He became like a mentor almost to me in the wrong way, but in some ways it was a good way too. But he showed me a lot of the gang life, the street life, and everything. And he pretty much kind of just took me under his wing. And because people started to associate me with him, and he would tell everybody, "This is my brother. Leave him. You don't touch my brother." And he was pretty feared at the time. He was a pretty feared guy in the city of Joliet. So when people started noticing that, that's who I was rolling with, I didn't have any problems after that. And I started doing, pretty much the wrong things, on the wrong side of the law. Things to spite my mother. I think in all, it was things I was trying to get my mother's attention. That, you brought me here. This is your fault. If you had left me in Kankakee with the people I know, this wouldn't happen to me. Not that I blame her now. I don't. That was my mindset as a child,
right?
Then at the time,
right? You do the easy thing and you blame, and of course sometimes you don't really understand when you're that young that you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is on me.
Yeah.
You know, I got to take responsibility for my actions, regardless of what is happening around me. I am still responsible for my actions, you know,
Right.
no matter what is happening around me. So you join the GD and you gain a brother. You gain an older brother, a father figure. And what kinds of things was he like the person to assign you to do things, or how does the gang life work? Because you got someone like me and others that are listening that just have no idea.
Yeah.
And I really have no idea. Like, all I hear is just, you know, things you hear or read on the news or hear from a friend, and like, that's it. So,
Yeah.
so what is it really like, or at least in your experience, what was that like? What kinds of things were you doing?
In my experience, and I only speak from my experience,
Right.
It was more like a brotherhood for me. It was like I was gaining brothers, and the more that my friend would show me more people and bring me around these people, they would accept me in. You know, and you got your own handshake. You know, you're shaking hands, and and it was like, excuse me, it was almost genuine love. It was genuine love. Now, granted, did we do things that was not right? Yeah. Yeah. Did we do things that we were breaking the law? Yeah. Yeah. When it came to times where we would go out or go to like parties and stuff like that, and we knew that the opposite gang was there, it was no question. It was like you had to get down. You had to fight for what you're a part of. It was no talking with them or no reason and no rationality.
And it sounds like that was done on purpose in those times. You would go to a party knowing that the other side is there.
Right. And it still carries on. Even sometimes I see today, the kids are doing this, and like, you knew they were going to be there.
Yeah.
We knew. It wasn't like we were just going out just to have fun.
Yeah.
And just go to a regular party.
It's all about making a statement.
It's about making a statement. So it was like things of that time. But then it was like, it was the good times, at that time. It's like, you had the older guys that was in the gang. They would go to like the liquor store and get liquor, and drugs and stuff like that, and girls and party. It was like really like, it was like I said, it was like a brotherhood. It was like a brotherhood that I was in. For me, it wasn't always just like, hey, we're going to go rob this person, or this is the set of things that you have to do,
The Gangster Disciples wasn't like that. They didn't have like do you have a code or anything like that? I know.
As far as like things that you couldn't do,
things you couldn't do or things you had to do, or...
I never had to do anything. I never had to do like, nobody,
and I know
nobody forced me to do it.
I know every gang's different. Obviously, not all the gangs are the same, and I think that's something to point out too.
Yeah,
some gangs are just kind of like, okay, that's more like mediocre or not as aggressive, I guess you would say.
No, I would say like a gang in its core, at least for my experience with the Gangster Disciples. Excuse me. It's not meant to be a violent show of violence or a show of aggression. It's teachings also too in it to help you to develop as a young man into a man. There are principles to the certain laws. There are certain laws that I can't really say. So, but it is good things that come out of it that was in its core. Now, we all have people that will take a good thing and manipulate it and turn it into something that it was not originally created for. It really wasn't created for that reason to be this show of, oh, they're just thugs. They're just the people that, take people's money, steal cars or whatever, commit crimes. They're no good. Most of the time in these situations of gangs, from what I've seen, was kids like me that just didn't have friends, got picked on, and wanted to be a part of something. And a lot of the kids today that's what they're doing. They want to be a part of something and want to feel like they belong in a brotherhood, that I'm protected, that if someone did try to bully me, there's somebody that's going to come get you. If you think you're bigger than me, I have somebody that's bigger than you that will come in. I'm not alone. That feeling of being alone is the worst feeling that I felt when I came to Joliet. It was like, I'm by myself. I have nobody, and I'm just with my mother, So
when you were in the gang then, I know it was more about protection for you, and it sounds like your mentor, he knew that.
Yeah.
So did you end up committing a lot of crimes in the gang, or were you mostly just kind of there, or did he make sure that you didn't do a lot of that stuff, and that maybe you just witnessed it and weren't actually partaking, or?
I took, you know what? It's so crazy. Man, God rest his soul, man. I took on my own identity because of my anger. I was so mad at just a lot of things. I was mad at my mother. I think I was somewhat mad at my brother too, because I felt like he wasn't there. Like, even though, like, hey, I get it, you got a family, or family guy,
But you probably felt that way, I would imagine, because I feel like in most families, when the father dies and you've got the younger brother, it's usually the older brother that's like, okay, it's my responsibility to
takes the charge.
Take the charge. That's kind of the expected or the stereotypical thoughts and feelings, right? So I would imagine that's probably why you felt that way. Because he's got his own family now, so he doesn't have time to be there for you.
To be there, yeah. And it turned into like a anger that I just built up, and I would take it out on other people. So that's where, like, when I say, like, I kind of conform my own identity, knowing that I had, like, protection, and I knew I had, like, guys that were behind me that would ride with me no matter what. I would start stuff with people. So I became the bully. I became a bully from being bullied, and it was just in a sense of to show, like, I'm tough, to show that I was tough. So I've committed crimes of, home invasion, going in, other people's houses, stealing, battery, just things that out of just anger, just wanting to do stuff. And it wasn't like I chose the life. I didn't want to just, like, really, it was just like it came to me because out of a sense of just wanting to be protected and just wanted to show a sense of strength and to show that, like, you're not going to mess with me. You're not going to mess with me. And I became this really fearful guy pretty much as time went on, was that you see me, you knew what I was about. You knew I was either going to, beat you up, rob you, do something to you. And it was like I gained respect out of fear. But he would always tell me, like, hey, man, we don't want to do this. What I mean? He would, in certain situations, would try to steer me the right way. Like, hey, man, did you ever think about going to school? Stuff like that. He would ask me, like, hey, what's something you like to do? And at the time, I wasn't trying to hear him. I was just like, man, I like this.
Mm-hmm.
Gang banging. That's what I like doing. It was times where I definitely didn't want to do, like, a lot of things, like, hurtful things. But then it'd come times where it was just like, it was like a release. I had to release. It was like if I didn't do it, I had to go do something.
So it became almost like a habit or an addiction.
And it was a lifestyle. You know,
lifestyle. Yeah, absolutely.
I had started selling drugs as well. So in that mindset of selling drugs, I'm running into different types of people, you know, and in that lifestyle, and then people, you know, not paying you money, and you know, it changes the way that you think. It changes the way that you act and how you respond to people. So I had this really bad, you know, negative like lifestyle that I was living, and it was like just going really nowhere. And I knew that it was only two places that it was going to take me. But at that point, I didn't care. I didn't care whether it, you know, if it was going to kill me, it was going to kill me.
Yeah, you lost your father. Your mother was too busy. She made you move to a city you didn't know anything about. Your oldest brother started a family, has no time for you. It's like a perfect scenario for chaos, you know, perfect formula for that.
Yeah. And that's what it became. It became like very chaotic in my life.
So how long were you a part of GD? How long did this go on for?
It went on for quite some years. It got worse when I turned 17. When I turned 17, I had something very traumatic that happened to me that changed it should have changed me for the good, but it actually intensified the way that I viewed the world and how I acted with it. That was like small stuff. That was like just small just because I was young. And when I was 17, you know, traveling back and forth from Joliet to Chicago, I had met a young lady that I started dating. But she lived in Chicago. Well, she lived in Skokie, Illinois, which is like kind of...
It's north.
It's north of Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not that far. It's
no. Skokie is like, it's right there. You can cross right into Chicago, North Chicago.
Yep.
You're right there.
Yep.
Skokie and Evanston.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
Evanston's right by, yeah.
Right there next to it. So that's where I would go. And the crazy thing about it was because I was still mad at my mother. So when she would be asleep, I would take her car.
Oh, man. Dang.
I would take her car to go see her. And I still don't, to this day, don't see how she didn't know I was gone.
She never knew?
She never knew.
She never knew you took her car until you probably told her one day, finally confessed after all these years, "Hey, Mom, I used to take your car while you were asleep."
Yeah. I'm like, Mom.
And drive it to Skokie.
I would drive a lot of other places too, like even around Joliet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would just take her car.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that was like another thing to me that was like, you know, it would make me mad. It's like, you're not even aware, you know. But she was just so deadbeat tired of working, just from working and working all the hours that she
single parent,
and just trying to take care of her last boy that she has, you know. So,
you're 17. You're seeing this girl in Skokie,
and I would go up there. And, you know, we'd go on dates and, you know, go out to the movies and, you know, things that teenagers do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I was still kind of like I still had a good mindset on me, you know. And I was actually I was in Job Corps at the time. I had actually went into Job Corps by the advice of my friend. Because remember I was telling you, he was telling me, like, what do you like to do? So I had went to the Joliet Job Corps.
What's Job Corps? Because I've actually never heard of that.
Really?
No, I've never heard of the Job Corps.
So Job Corps is a place where it's from, I want to say from 16 to about 23 you can attend there. And you can it's like a trade school.
Oh, okay.
You can get a trade, you can get your high school diploma, you can get your GED.
Okay.
So you learn things like culinary arts, auto mechanics, welding.
So you learn there's a lot of trade.
Yes.
You learn a lot of the trades there. Oh, okay.
And it's crazy. You don't hear about it a lot no more. But back then, it was like Job Corps was the thing for, you know, everybody to go to. There were kids that were leaving high school and they were going to Job Corps because they knew they could still get their high school diploma and they could get a trade.
That's a decent deal.
Yeah. I don't see why we're not pushing our kids to go to that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess the equivalent here in Kankakee County is the Career Center, but you can't get your GED there. That's just a supplement you can go to while you're going to high school. You can learn a trade.
Yeah.
So I guess that's our equivalent of it here, which is amazing, and it's still here. It's been it's taught so many people the trades over the years. But anyway, so back to you in Job Corps though.
But yeah, I was attending Job Corps, and they give you leaves. So like if you're a resident, like because you could live on the campus.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they have campuses where they have dorms and stuff. So it's like a college, but it's just it's a trade school college, pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they got these all over the United States and in different states. So they give you leaves, they give you passes. So you have to be on campus for so long, and then they give you a leave to where you can leave for the weekend. So I was on a weekend leave, and I came home and then took my mom's car, went up to go see my girlfriend at the time. And she had this friend that would always be with her at whenever we would, link up or whatever. And it was this day was like just so weird. It was different. Like the whole vibe was very different. The friend was really friendly with me and really like kind of, how can I say the word? Mysterious. She was very mysterious and very like the things that she was doing was not normal, was not regular to what we would used to do. So we went to this mall that was on Clark Street in Evanston. So we had crossed over into the Evanston, and we was at this Clark Street mall, and we had went in there and we were, shopping, doing some things, and the friend stopped to talk to another gentleman. Me and my girlfriend, we walked out and got into the car, and we said, hey, we're gonna leave. So, kind of like hurry up, like, come on. We get in the car, and as we're like just sitting there, we're waiting for her, just talking. My girlfriend is looking like, I'm looking at her and she's looking at me. So she's looking out the window. And so I'm talking to her and I'm like, like, what are you looking at? And she started pointing and she's tapping me like, like, look. And I look, and it's a guy with a hood over his head running up to the car. And he literally runs up all the way to the car because I didn't understand what he was doing. And he's like running up to the car, and he got to the car so fast that it was like in a blink of an eye, he raised the gun up at the window and just started firing inside of the car. I'm literally just like in a state of shock. It's just, and I'm jumping around in the front seat, and my body falls over on her and kind of like shields her. After like what seemed to last a lifetime in that second, it seemed in my mind like it was a lifetime, I realized that I had been shot a lot of times. And I crawled to the floor. I crawled to the ground across the passenger seat, and she's screaming. I could hear her screaming in my head. My body now is like numb. But I'm looking at my body, and it's just like my limbs are hanging, my arm is hanging, my face feels weird. It just didn't feel right. It felt like I got punched by like the Incredible Hulk punched me in the face. Long story short, after I got to the hospital, and they operated on me, I had finally found out that I had got shot 11 times.
11 times?
11 times. Yeah. And
was your girlfriend okay?
She got grazed. So pretty much I took all the gunfire.
So it must have just got shot like what? Like in your arms or
I got
places
shot.
that didn't have vital organs?
Well, I got shot. One of the bullets went towards my heart. I think they said it was like maybe a centimeter from puncturing my heart. Yeah. I've got shot 2 times in my left arm, one in my face, 5 in my chest, 1 in my right hand, 1 in my right arm, and then in my leg. Yeah. And not 1 bullet hit a vital organ.
That's insane.
I walked out of the hospital in 14 days. Yeah. And
did you figure out why this guy did this? Did they catch him? Did her friend have something to do with this?
I believe she did. I believe she did, because we could never find her because she never came out of the store. So when my girlfriend was like, she told me later, it's like, hey, when I was telling the police to go find my friend, they went in there to go look for her. They said, there's no girl in here.
Did she ever see her after that?
No.
Never?
No.
So
she just like disappeared off the map.
So either she had something to do with it, or she saw what was going on and or maybe she got hurt herself. But
the crazy thing about it is that I will never know. Not even to this day. I don't know.
And I bet that drives you crazy, because it's driving me crazy right now.
It used to.
It used to. Because I'm still thinking in my mind, like, what did she do? Did she sell you out? Because at this time you were still in a GD, right? Even when you were going to Job Corps?
Yeah.
So she could have easily, I don't know, brought you to the table to some other
serve
rival
me up
gang.
Me up on a platter.
Right, and being like, hey, I know this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. The crazy thing is that, being that I'm not from Chicago, and this is where, where it happened.
Yeah.
But she knew, like I said, every time that I would go up there, she would always be with us.
Yeah.
But she never acted like that day. It was just very weird. She was very mysterious and just acting very weird. And what really bothered me, it still kind of bothers me a little bit today, but I'm okay, because I've transitioned a lot since then. The police came, the detective, they followed up and came to my house. The Chicago detective came all the way to Joliet. And this is, of course, when my mother finally found out that I was taking her car.
Okay.
Because I got shot in her car.
Right. Right. That would have been her car.
That was her car.
Oh, my God.
So she found out, of course, in a worse way, when my mother tells the story, it brings me to tears still to this day when she tells me about the phone call. And she was like, hey, I got a phone call. And the first thing they said was, ma'am, do you have a son? My mom said she hung up the phone instantly because she knew, why are you asking that? And they called right back and say, hey, your son was shot multiple times and he is in critical condition in the hospital, And she tells it's more like, just hearing it from a mother breaks my heart. Even, she doesn't talk about it a lot. She's just grateful she still has her son.
Yeah. I still can't get that's the other part I obviously can't get over either, is you got shot 11 times and you're still here to talk about it, and you're walking.
Yeah.
You're not paralyzed or anything like that. Or at least from the visual eye, I don't see any.
Just some cosmetic stuff that, I had to have I had to get reconstructive surgery done to my face. That's oh my God, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I bet.
But going back to the detectives came down and they had like a what's that thing called where they got all the pictures of the people on a piece of paper.
They call that a profile?
Like a profile or something, but he had like all these mug shots on one, like 2 or 3.
A lineup?
He had a lineup. So he wanted me to explain what happened. I pretty much told him. He was like, well, look at these people. And they're all Hispanic, man, because the neighborhood that I was in was a Hispanic neighborhood. So it was all these Hispanic men that was on this paper. And he had some of them that were circled. Don't know why. He didn't say why they were circled. But he was like, does any of these stick people stick out to you. And he would only go, it was like maybe 3 pages, but he would only go to page 2. He wouldn't go to page 3. And he go to page 2, he was like, nobody sticks out. I said, hey, man, I told you. The guy ran up with a hood over his face. I said, well, if you're not from the area, you're from Joliet. So why did he need a hood? I said, I don't know. Find him and ask him. I don't know. Well, this just doesn't seem right. Are you involved with any gang, Mr. Grant? This is what the police is asking me. I said, what is the relevance of this? I'm confused. I'm the victim, but it seems like you're trying to turn this around as if I deserve to get shot. I'm confused. He said, well, we see this all the time. Gang violence where one rival gang shoots the other one, then we question them, then we get answers like this because you guys like to take out your own form of justice, right? And my mom's standing right there. She was like, are you serious right now? Are you seriously saying that to my son? Asking if he's not revealing the identity of the person who shot him because of some gang tradition to not snitch on or some street justice that you think he wants to take out? This is insane. Go do your job. Go be the police and go find who shot my son. So we can find who shot your son, Miss Grant, if your son will cooperate with us. And my mom said, you know what? It's time for you to leave. That changed me. Not only did I, suffer from a long years of PTSD, from hearing loud noises, and 4th of July was the worst, but it changed my view of the police. I used to like the police. I mean, I like them now. Now I do.
No,
but
I understand. In that time, you would have a different perspective.
It changed my perspective of the police. Not only was I already an angry person, now I had a reason to be angry. So my attention changed. So whenever I did do something, it was like, when the police come, I would spit on them. I would resist arrest. I would call them all types of names. It was. And some of them was just doing their job. It wasn't nothing against me. It was nothing. It was just my anger.
Yeah, you were just taking it out on every single cop, even though it was just the one you had the bad experience with.
And you didn't even try to find who shot me. This was an attempt murder.
Yeah.
This is attempt murder, and you're treating me as if I'm a suspect in my own shooting.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you say, hey, look, like, yes, I am in a gang, but no, I'm not concealing anything? I mean, or could you not even say that, yes, I'm in a gang? You probably couldn't just say that.
Well, the police, the police have a profile of you.
Yeah.
So
right.
Whenever you get arrested, if you have any like
priors
or gang tattoos and stuff like that, they take pictures, they log this into the system.
Right.
So this is why I say I advocate for, young men, do not get arrested, because this is something that stays on your record. Even now, as the person that I am now, it's still, if I get pulled over, for just a minor traffic ticket, he can see my record.
Yeah.
He's
going to assume things.
He doesn't know the Derek now. He just sees the Derek that's on his screen that says, oh, this is a violent guy.
Right.
This is a guy that's had, after getting shot, I've had gun charges. And I've had to prove that in court to why I had a gun. And my lawyer had to prove to the point that, like, hey, he has a gun because he made a vow to himself that would never happen to him again. He would never be in a vulnerable position in a car. And even, it took me years in a car, for that to even get over that trauma of sitting in a car.
So so you didn't start carrying until after that moment?
No, I even as, as much little stuff, it was like, I don't want to make, minimize the things that I did as a teenager. But they weren't like
That was obviously extremely violent.
It wasn't extreme to the point of, I had pulling guns out on people.
Yeah.
It wasn't that.
But
After
this experience, I'm sure you were
my perspective of the world changed, because I felt so vulnerable that any given time, if someone that didn't even know me, I'm sitting in a car with a woman, you run up on me, and then, no explanation. So it's like I can only assume that her friend had something to do with it. I can only assume that. I can't. There's been no justice for that. There's been no police officer, nobody to say, hey, we got him. This is why he did it. He confessed. So even to this day, it took me years to get over that fact that I will never have justice. I'll never get that. And it changed my view of the world. Of like, wow, this is a messed up world we live in, that someone can almost get murdered and then they get treated like a suspect in their own murder, and they almost attempt murder. And then you hear nothing from the detectives. Years went by, no call, how are you doing? Nothing. I said, this is the police system? I was angry. I said, okay, if you're not going to protect me, I'll protect myself. And of course, then at the time I had a felony. So I wasn't legally able to carry a gun, or I didn't even, not at the time I wasn't a felon, but I didn't have a gun card. So I just got a gun myself, and whenever I would drive or wherever I would go, I made sure I had a gun with me. Whenever I was with any friends, we'd sit in the car. I couldn't sit in the car. So from 18, 19, 20, all the way up to like 28. I'm 37.
I was going to say that's almost 10 years at this point, but still, it feels like not that long ago.
Time for me to get over that, to get to that point of not being paranoid of sitting in cars. You get out, like if we went to, hey, we were just going to go to Walgreens up the street here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you get out, you say, hey, I'm just going to go grab some gum or something.
You stay right here. I'm going to go get some gum.
No, I'm coming with you.
Right, yeah. Like, no, I'm not staying here, man. I'm going with you. I don't care if it's
You're
even
not leaving
2
me.
minutes. Yeah.
Even if it was, 2 minutes. You're not leaving me in the car, Jacob.
Yeah, you're like, no, sorry, man.
You're not leaving me in the car. And that was the paranoia. That was now we're more informed about it, about PTSD, but that was PTSD.
Oh, absolutely.
My mind was just.
So where was you're always making sure that you're carrying a gun at this point. So what are the violent acts that follow? And so this, I guess, where do we get to the part where the world actually turns for you now into the state you're currently at? What was that turning point? What were the moments leading up to that? What were if there was, the more, I guess it sounds like you were more violent after that.
I was more. So to fast forward, it could best be described like this. After hurting people, being the way that my mindset, the way that it was, broken relationships, broken friendships, I was not loyal to people. I broke a lot of promises. I had got married in between that time. I was a horrible husband. I became a horrible person because of what happened to me. And because of that, my life just, it couldn't stay in one, I couldn't keep it on track. I would try to get it together, but it just wouldn't go. And as I got into my 30s, then that's when life started to slow down. Well, I had my twins at 28. When I was 28, they came into the world. Then things started to change. And I had a different reason to live. and I had to start changing certain things about myself. But I would notice that I would punish myself for my past. And because I would punish myself, I would miss opportunities for things.
Because you felt like you didn't deserve them for the acts that you committed.
I felt like I didn't deserve a lot of things for a long time. So when I got to the age of, this was in 2018, so I had to be 34, I think. Yeah, 34. At 34, I was getting done with 7 surgeries I had to go through, and 4 radiation treatments to fix my face, because my face had developed really bad keloids.
Was that from the original shooting, or that shooting where you got shot 11 times?
When I got shot in the face.
When you got shot in the face.
The wound, so as I grew older, I grew a beard.
Okay.
I used to have a pretty thick beard.
Okay.
And the hair grew around the beard. Well, not the hair grew around the beard.
I know. It grew around your
wound,
your
the scar.
Okay.
So, the scar started to develop into a keloid scar. If you're not familiar with that, that's like if you see guys that get their ears pierced and they have those big things on their ear.
Yeah.
Those are keloids. So my skin is like if I cut myself, it develops this hard tissue. So it had got so big that it covered my entire face from one end to the other, even under my neck. And it became infected really bad to where I had to get surgery to get it removed. And they had to skin graft my face. So that caused a lot of depression with how I looked. So I went through depression, anxiety, a lot of undealt with trauma during that time. So in 2018, after I had came out of all of this, I had tried to go back into life to try to really like find me and find a different outlook at life. And I didn't deal with a lot of the trauma. So because I didn't deal with that trauma, I got into a relationship that I shouldn't have. And I took a lot of my trauma out on that person. And when I realized what I was doing, by that time, it was too late because the person was so done with me and just, thought the worst of me. And I looked at my life and I said, you know what? Nobody is saying anything good about Derek Grant. I've wasted my time on earth. I've done all these horrible things because I was hurt, instead of talking about it with the right people. And I started thinking about that. And as I thought about that, I thought about, well, maybe I shouldn't live. Maybe I don't need to be here. So I had some leftover medications from my surgery. I had like some strong medication. At least I thought they were strong.
Well, I'm sure like pain medications and things like that, like Vicodin or...
I had, I think it was the Norco.
I was going to say Norco's another one.
Norco.
Yeah.
And it was really strong. I had some Valium, and I mixed it all up in a pill bottle. I had some Jack Daniels, and it had to be, to me, I think it was about 50 pills. I shoved them down my throat, and tried to swallow as many as I could. And I did. And I waited, and I prayed, to God to take my life. And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed with a tube down my throat. And the doctor was standing over me and asking me, do you want to live? And I'm crying, as he's asking this question. And I just shook my head. And he said, okay, I'll give you some time, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask you that question again. And I must have like kind of, passed out from, still waking up from the medication and everything, not realizing how much work they had done, you know. So he came back in. He said, I'm going to take that tube out your throat. They had to incubate me. He said, I'm going to get the nurses and staff to get in here so you can talk. Your throat might be a little sore, but we're going to get you some water and everything so you can talk. Because I want you to explain some things to me. Like, okay. So, I came in and did that, and he came back in again. And he said, Derek, I want to ask you this question again. Do you want to live? And he said, but hold on. Before you answer that question, I want to tell you what we did to save your life. When you came in here, your pulse, you didn't have one. Your body temperature was so low that we couldn't detect it. We had to put you in a bear hugger to keep you warm. That's how low your body temperature was. The signs that you were showing, for me as a doctor in my profession, I've never seen that before for a person that has taken pills from what you came in for. That's not the signs of an OD. That's not what you're showing. And he said, about 5 minutes after we got you in, we got you wrapped up in a bear hugger, you dropped. Your heart stopped. You cold blue. We had to come in and we had to bring you back. That's when he said, that's when like a red flag went off in my head. It was like, what is going on? And he said, the moment I'm sitting there questioning and doing this, I'm going to try to remember. Oh, before that. So when that happened, that's when they reached out to my family. My sister is my emergency contact. So they reached out to my sister. And my sister is on the phone now with the nurse and explaining to her what's going on. And the nurse is telling her, hey, he came in from, OD, a suicide attempt. You need to get here. And as she's talking to my sister, in the background, cold blue. She had to hang up with my sister, say, hey, that's your brother. I got to go. Please get up here to the hospital. So the doctor tells me, he says, you did that 3 times. We brought you back 3 times. I'm going to tell you this. Doctors don't talk about God. Doctors rarely talk about spirituality and things of that nature. But this doctor changed my life. And it's the way that I see life now because he made such a big impact. And I believe it was a divine intervention for that. He said, Derek, though you want to take your life doesn't belong to you. And I'm like, huh? So yet your life does not belong to you. There's something about you. Because see, by the time now my sister is there. So your sister told me a little brief history of you. Because once we, they got my shirt off, so I have a lot of scars from what I've been through. He said, I wanted to know what happened to you. And when she told me when you were 17, you were shot 11 times and that you lived through that. And now here you are now in my room. And I don't know what else you went through probably prior to that in your life other than that. But I'm telling you, there is something that God has placed in your life that you have to bring to this world. And until you bring whatever God has placed inside of you to this world, it's not your life. Your life belongs to God to use for his will, not yours. So not a moment later, you can check out of here. You can't check out when you want. And I'm crying. This doctor's...
I'm tearing up. I'm tearing up over here as you're telling this story, to be honest.
I'm crying. And he said, you're going to be fine. But this is one thing that we did notice. And because like I said, I wanted to know why, certain things that you were going through. You have a condition called Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. your thyroid does not produce enough. Well, I produce too much.
Too much, yeah.
I produce too much of the thyroid
Hormone or whatever it's called, yeah.
So he said that can cause depression. It could cause severe anxiety. It changes your thyroid. Affects a lot of you. Can't live without a thyroid. So he said that's actually a good thing that we caught that, because otherwise you never would have knew. I said, wow, I've went through my life this long. But to get to, to where I'm at now, that's what changed me. And since that day, I have lived my life with purpose, with God's purpose for my life. And I've converted my life to, Christianity, spirituality, seeking divine purpose. And one of the things that I had during that time of now, from that 3 years, and it's only been 3 years, I started to develop my brand. And I wanted to inspire other people from what I went through. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. And I would pray, and I'm like, hey, God, just use me. You said this life doesn't belong to me.
Right, yeah.
So use me for how you want me to be used. And I started seeing like this diamond. And I was like, you know what? A diamond has to go through a lot of pressure. And when pressure is applied to that diamond, that's when it becomes the beautiful, thing that we wear on our ears and on our fingers, because it has to go through a lot of pressure. And the motto to the brand is, I am unbreakable. So during that time, I would say affirmations to myself. I would say, I am a child of God. I am strong. I am smart. I am beautiful. Because I said so many bad things to myself because of what I had done. I was punishing myself in my past. So I was like, I'm unbreakable. But a diamond, simply translated, if you look up diamond, it's unbreakable. So I felt like everybody is a diamond, and has to go through their own pressure in life and their own stories, their own trials and tribulations in life. But if you get through it and you get on the other side of it, you will become that precious diamond. But you gotta go through it. And I had this saying that not everything that we think is bad in our life is bad for our life. So the things that we think is bad, we say, man, it's a bad thing. I don't need that. We try to get rid of it. But what if that bad thing was actually the good thing that you needed for your life? Then you look back and you like, now I see why I went through that. Now I see why. I have no regrets of my life, of what I've done and how I lived, because I know how I live now. And I know the guy that used to be, when I used to think of myself, like nobody had nothing good to say about Derek Grant. Like now, I know that's not true. People that see me now, they say, man, I never would have guessed. Dude, you went through that? You was like that?
I never would have guessed. That's why I was like, I gotta know Derek's story. That's why I was like, I gotta sit down with him and I gotta learn why, why apply pressure? Why,
Pressure in life is necessary. Pressure in life is necessary. I preach that now. It's necessary for your character development. It's necessary for you to be the person that you were intended to be. If you don't go through those things, you skip that. That's like trying to work out and you're trying to, build muscle. And you say, okay, well, I'll just work arms this day, but I don't like doing chest. Doesn't work that way. You have to work every area of the body. You have to work even leg day. Can't skip leg day.
You want to be my personal trainer? This sounds like it could work, because that's exactly what I need. I just need someone to tell me, okay, we're doing this today, we're doing that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
what?
and it just like kind of set you on a course of like, hey, look, hey, we got to do this, we got to do arms, we got to do chest.
Yeah.
But you can't skip none of those areas though.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much with pressure. That's how I was able to come, I feel like that's what was given to me by the Creator, to do that, to be an inspiration to my city, where I'm from. I've been back here in Kankakee since 2010, and it hasn't always been good, but for the past 3-4 years now, my life has dramatically changed as I've given my life to God. Again, like I said, I walk in purpose. I try to use my voice and my story to inspire people that are going through mental health things. And I'm an advocate as well for the AFSP, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So I do talks, I do mental health workshops now to get out there that mental health is so needed for us. It's so needed for young adults, the teenagers, like when I was a teenager, and not realizing how vital it is to sit down with a therapist, to sit down and talk about your feelings, to be vulnerable, about these things. I wish, one thing I wish I had done is I had talked to my mother.
I was going to say, because you never talked to her during that whole time.
To her. She didn't know I was going through those things. And she said it. We did sit down. We had a talk. I was grown, and she was like, Derek, I wish you had told me. And she admitted some things too, so.
And that's the thing. I mean, I remember being so scared to tell my mom or dad about something, that either if it was a way I was feeling or something bad that I had done. I mean, who wants to tell your parents, think of the worst thing in the world that you could have possibly done. Do you really want to go to your mom and dad and say, I did this? No, you don't. It's like the most uncomfortable feeling in the world.
Yeah.
So it's completely understandable in your case and so many other cases. And we've all done it to certain degrees where we don't tell them exactly what's going on.
Yeah. And because we're scared of if they'll look at us different, that they'll reject us as their child. Like, wait, what is wrong with you? I didn't raise you like that, And we as kids, at the time, as a kid, you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear your parent.
You're a disappointment.
Yeah, you're a disappointment. Look at your brother. And it's not that as parents, and now as a parent, we don't want our children to be in competition with the other child,
Or whether it's your child or somebody else's child.
Yeah.
It's so, sometimes it's hard to understand that it's about just being obviously a support system than being so much as discipline and telling them what they should be doing or comparing, I guess. You don't want to compare. You want to just support them through when they need it.
Yeah.
Most, no matter what they've done.
And my mother has been a support, Unfortunately, she had to find out through the police department what I was doing, but she showed up. One thing about my mother, I love my mother, and through all my bad times, she showed up. She was the only one. And then when I finally realized that, I was like, man, you know what? I was trying to get all this approval from the guys and, be down with the crew and all this and that. Whenever I would get locked up, they wasn't there.
No, absolutely not. They were as far away as they possibly could be.
Yeah. Where's this, brother love when I'm incarcerated?
Yeah.
And it was just my mom, sending me money, writing me letters, answering my phone calls. It was my mom, so um, I love my mom. Shout out to my mother, Ruth Grant. That's my mother.
Yeah, mama. Oh, man.
Yeah. And shout out to my sister, too.
Yeah.
You got to give her
a round of applause.
You got to, my sister.
Got to give the sister a round of applause.
She has been there for me through a lot, too. Whenever I had my medical situation. So when my mom couldn't come, because she's older, my sister stepped right in, and she was right there, and all of my mental health episodes where I've just like freaked out, she was there. Through my surgeries, she was there. So much props to my sister. My brother was there too. We're still over the years, we're still kind of like connecting because we just never had that, And I love my brother, so but we just never had that, that brother love, like type of,
Yeah, because he had, his first child, he was 16.
Yeah.
He was still a child himself.
Right.
So
trying to figure stuff out.
Trying to figure stuff out. He didn't have time
Yeah.
to, be there and support you.
Yeah.
What I want to know now, with all the, the work you've been doing, spreading awareness about the importance of mental health, sharing your story, getting out there, getting more involved with the community and the kids, like, what is it really like right now in Kankakee for the kids, and what do you think they really need? What are some of the things you've seen or witnessed or heard?
Me and Kent Wade, shout out to Kent Wade. Kent Wade, Jeff Davis, Jovan Marshall, Coran Clark, Eric Curry at the high school, and Rhonda Curry. We do a program called Man Up. Man Up works with the grades 6 through 12. And Mr. Curry, he has 10 P's. There are 10 promises. I can't remember all of them. But it's like, some of them, I know some of them are, I promise to stay out of the criminal justice system. I promise to respect all women. Just some of those things. And I do believe the Daily Journal ran a...
Yes, I at least once, if not multiple times, I've been seeing, and of course, I'm friends with Kent on Facebook and Instagram, so I see, him talking about the Man Up program, and it sounds perfect and fantastic for what kids need.
And I think, and also with the City Life Center too as well, they work with the kids. What I would say the kids, the answer, going back to your question, I would say really it's on the parents. It's on the parents that, see, we can spread, the awareness of it, but we have to get back in that sense of like, you're going. There's no, way out of this. Like, I'm not for like forcing something on your kids. If I'm trying to, but I want the kids to get to the spot. That's what me and Kent say. Get to the spot. But the only way for them to get there is that the parents have to get them there. And we have to get through to the parents that if you see your child and they're just sitting around the house and that Man Up is going on this day, you need to have them there. Because there's like, what else is going on? If they don't have no prior engagement with athletics or something like that, or some other after school program that may conflict with the Man Up program or any other programs that is, because there's a lot of programs that are going on around Kankakee. But what I'm starting to see is that a lot of the parents are not getting them there. We're showing up And where we want to have maybe 15 to 20 kids there's less than 10. And then some of the kids that are there, they don't have rides. The parents can't pick them up. Or the parents can't get them there. So what can we do, to get them there? We have to get them there, because you got tremendous people that are working, that are willing to, myself included, to share our stories, our individual stories of how we've conquered our fears, how we've conquered certain things when we were their age. So we're not speaking out of a sense of we can't relate to you. Someone on this team or someone in the community is going to be able to relate to you, and we're going to send you to them. We can be able to send you to them. We can send you to Aaron Clark, who runs the City Life Center. We can send you to Kent Wade, who's the library guy. Everybody, recognizes Kent Wade. And he has done tremendous work with working with the kids. But they got to get there. They have to get there. So I think that's, for me, it's go back to the parents. We got to be diligent. We got to be really on our kids, because there's a lot of things out there with social media, all these new little trends and stuff that the kids follow, the dances. It's not saying that there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. But it's just as much as effort that they put in to do those things. Let's put that same effort. They need to be showing the same effort to get to the Man Up event. They need to show the same effort to get to the City Life Center, or whatever, programs. I'm pretty sure there's more. There's just 2 that I know. But and even the mayor, Chris Curtis has been to some of them. So it's a continued effort by the leaders, even with the kickball thing that we were.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Even that such a simple, small event like that.
Yeah.
I had a blast, honestly.
I had it. Though I pulled my hamstring at the end.
That's right. I remember that now. I was
limping.
Dude, I remember that. Yeah, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know how I didn't do the same thing. Because I feel like you're probably more active than I am when it comes to physical activity. Like, I don't do it, I don't play sports or go to the gym or anything like that. I try to go on walks or like ride my bike when I can, but it's not like a consistent basis. So your hamstring okay now, though?
My hamstring, it took a while to actually heal.
Did it really? Was it that bad?
I thought I had like really messed up something. I'm like, man, this is taking too long. I was like doing stretches and everything. Like, what is going on? I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should have stretched before I did the kick, not after, trying to get trying to stretch the muscle out. But.
Yeah. But it really was so much fun, and having events like that help. And I feel like one of the biggest goals of having, the teen zone at the public library or the City Life Center or Man Up, it's just about trying to keep kids from joining the gang activities or anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a gang. It could just be anything that's negative.
Right. The wrong activities.
The wrong
things.
Yes, exactly. And just supporting overall, And I think it's also a matter of supporting our child's dreams, or, their ambitions, maybe if it doesn't completely align with ours, we still need to support it as long as they're not hurting anybody, right? That's what it always comes down to. So, if they want to pursue a career as a football player, okay, like you're going to worry about them getting hurt, right? But you're going to be there to support them,
right?
Even though you think, no, you should be a doctor, or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I feel like that's so important.
And it really is, because when these kids, when they do go to these programs, and we got them in these programs, this is how important it is that the parents be supportive of all of the positive things, because all of these negative things, unfortunately, there's there's a lot of crime in the city of Kankakee, as small as this town is. We are working with these kids, and then when they get done with us, when we take them back to the neighborhoods that's where gunshots are being, like literally I was taking a kid back from the City Life Center and pulling up at his house, and a couple blocks over you hear pow, pow, pow. And that kind of messes with their mind, because it's like you take them from that and put them in this, and then they come back to that. So for the parents, it has to be, consistent. You can't just one day and then they're here, the next day they're not. Because consistently what they are going to see is the wrong things. So you have to fight wrong with the right things. That's the only way it can be. And as the parents, we have to understand that we have to be consistent. We have to keep putting them in good programs, keep putting them around the right people. If they have friends that are not doing good things, then hey, maybe that's not your friend. And just being honest, like maybe that's not your friend. Because if they're doing that type of, I had to tell my son, one of my sons, I had to tell him the same thing. And he got in trouble at school. And he was like, well, my friend, I said, look, when you started to do what you did with your friend, you knew it was wrong, right? And my son said, yeah. I said, okay, so that lets me know you knew it was the wrong thing to do, but you still did it, right? Because you think you're your friend, and he's laughing. He thinks it's funny. It's not funny because, see, if he was your friend, he had told you not to do it. He wouldn't put you in that position for you to get in trouble, and you knew you would get in trouble, and you still do it. You still did it. He's not your friend. And as tough as that may sound, we have to have those type of conversations too with our children, so they can have the knowledge of not sticking around someone. And as unfortunate as it is, some kids are like that, and that's just life. They would have to go through their thing to get out of that situation. But the ones we can save, the one that we can, our own children and the children that we in the lives that we're in, we have to be honest with them. Like, hey, you can't hang around him no more. You can't hang around her no more, because that's not your friend. Your friend would promote something positive to say, hey, let's go. If your friend is not pulling you away from something negative and say, hey, let's go to the City Life Center. Hey, let's go here. That's not your friend. And that's why I say it goes back to the parents. It goes back to the parents. The parents have to, it has to start with us. Let me say us. I don't want to point the finger because I'm a parent too.
Yeah, same here. Like, obviously my son is still very young, but it's going to come a day when, and actually the day is always the present. So, all this stuff can apply even to a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
I mean, teaching them, just simply teaching them right from wrong and guiding them in the right direction, and even still, he's obsessed with trains. So I try to do as many things as possible that are train oriented if he wants to do those things, so even though he's not at the point where, I want this to be my career, it's like that's his interest. So, I'm trying to support that interest,
Yeah.
So I feel like it's just always I love hearing these conversations because I feel like I'm hoping it's going to set me up well for those teenage years.
Yeah.
when they come, it's a good reminder.
And it'll come quicker than they're going to be 10, and I'm like,
yeah.
Oh man, just
a
couple more years.
Right? Yeah, you've got your twins are 10, so yeah, they're coming. They're right around the corner.
Right around the corner from teenage
You're
years.
like, please don't let them be like me. Please don't.
I do. I'd be like, don't be like me. But it's so crazy that when you do change your life, that's the beauty. It's because now, when I do see people and people that's just now knowing me.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, I say, hey, I've been in prison, I've been in jail, I've been a gang member, I've been all these things. They're like, huh? You, Derek? The church going positive every time I see you post something on Facebook is positive, and Kent calls me the motivational spotter. and people are like, no, this got to be a joke. And that's the beauty, because it's like the caterpillar that turns into the butterfly. You see a butterfly, you never knew it was this little ugly little bug crawling on it. You never knew. Like, that's what it was? Like, yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. It's not anymore. So, and that's the beauty. And when I talk to my kids, I talk to them from a place of, I know both sides. I know where this can take you. I know, there's one of my boys, he has a little temper. He does get mad. And I said, it's okay to be mad. I don't want you to think it's a wrong thing by being mad. Like, I'm punish you for being mad. But anger used the wrong way is a bad release. But if it's used the right way, it's good. So just use it in the right way. And we have to go through with our kids the right ways to release that anger, that they're not taking it out on society or taking it out on their sister or their brother or anybody, right? That may tick them off, you know what I mean? And it's even at this age, even at 5, you're a 5-year-old, right?
Yeah, almost 5.
Almost 5.
Yeah.
Even at 4. Because they have their little tantrums too.
Yeah, you better believe it, man. And right now another thing I've been trying to work on with him is, this is usually the age where they always have to win, right?
Yeah.
You're playing a game with them, and if they lose, they're just a sore loser about it, and they'll get angry or they'll get sad, and it's like, hey man, you're not always going to win.
Right.
So it's like, we've been trying to like teach him that lesson too,
And it's getting them prepared that, you're not going to win all the time.
Exactly.
It's getting
because
them prepared for that.
If I condition him to just let him win every time, then, well, that's not going to be good.
It's not. When you get older, it's like, then that's when that anger comes.
Yeah.
Because I lost.
Yeah.
But, being a good sport about losing sometimes, it's okay.
Yep.
But it's not okay to have a mindset of, because now I lost, now I'm angry at the person I lost to. I'm angry at anybody that may make fun of me, or take it with grace. One of my favorite speakers, he has a saying. It says, until you handle it with grace, it'll stay in your face.
That's a good saying. That hits the nail right on the head.
I've used that in so many areas of and it just with becoming a new person. And I said, I gotta handle this the right way. And until you handle it with grace, it's gonna constantly come back in your face. It's gonna keep coming. It's gonna keep coming, because you're not handling it the right way, or either you're just ignoring it. But you got to use grace, as a way to handle things, and teaching our kids to love, respect each other. No matter what color they are, no matter how tall they are, big they are, whatever. We teach our kids. This is how we heal the world, I believe. Is of course, with the kids, and us as parents, if we've seen a life that they didn't. We came before them. So we have the foreknowledge of how the world is in our prior mistakes, prior to you coming into this world. So our job as parents is not to continue to keep making the same mistakes that we made, and also the mistakes our parents made. We have to start over by healing the world, especially with racism, placism, whatever ism.
There's a lot of those. There's a lot of isms.
There's a lot of isms.
It's just kind of letting go of what we were conditioned to when we were growing up or what we were taught or, that kind of thing. It's kind of hard to let go of those things, especially when it can be, started at a very young age from whoever you were around as a child, whether it was your parents or your grandparents or other family members or family friends, teachers, that kind of thing. It's just about letting go of some of those things, realizing that that's not really a good thing. Let's do something else, And that was, I mean, I know we could go on forever. Like we're almost at 2 hours already, which is completely fine because this has been incredible.
Yeah.
But another thing I did wanted to ask you is, what are some things in your mind that we can all do to have a more of a unified community within the Kankakee area, because obviously we've got all these communities within the community,
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the Hispanic community, the Black community, all these communities, and it's always, to me, and that's fine. Like we can always be within our own communities, but I still feel like there needs to be more unity in certain areas. I think when Kent and I were talking, I don't remember if we talked about this on mic or off mic, but we were talking about how we can, have our own communities, but we still need to be more than happy to come together whenever it's necessary or whenever, not even when it's not necessary. Like just we need to be happy to come together at any time to celebrate whatever it is. Or if it's not a celebration, a remembrance or an issue in the community, like we need to be
on one accord
and be able to come together to cry, to laugh, to all of those things. So what do you think would help Kankakee be more unified? What things have, you've seen or witnessed as a Black man growing up in Kankakee, because obviously I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that's like. The older I get, the more I realize how damn lucky I am.
Yeah.
Just for the opportunities that life has presented me, because I came from a family that's been here for generations and generations, but also came from a family that did not have the hardships as other families that have had to come here and start a life.
Yeah. It's we have to start by, of course, I'm a person of I like looking at history, but I don't want us to use history as a place to say, well, we had to go through this. Like, I get it, and for me as a Black man, it does get tough, when people don't remember or they don't, when they do look past history of what we have suffered. But here's the thing, as a Black man and in the Black community, we can't use that forever. At some point, just like all things, we have to move past. We have to move past, and should it be like, hey, that was like so many amount of years ago, just forget about it. No, it's not forgetting about it. It's remembering it and saying, let's not let this happen again. How can we not let this happen again? That it falls into a place where if we see a Black man killed on social media by the police, the first thing we say is that it's racism, and now, of course, the Black community, the brown community, whatever are mad. And we're like, hey, this cop was racist. This person was racist, motivated. First of all, we don't know that. I hate that notion that if a white person kills a black person, it was racially motivated. It's not true. Not all the time. One thing that Aaron Clark had did the police stop simulator. The police department did.
Okay, yeah, that was not too long ago, right?
Yeah, the police stop simulator. So I participated in that, actually.
Okay.
So
you would be a perfect contestant.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. It goes through a simulation of, you're the police officer. They give you these different scenarios. They give you a gun and everything, and you're walking up to the car. You got to respond. You have this big screen that you're looking at, and you have to assess the situation. And the person that's one of the police officers controlling the responses and how the person will respond. In some situations, there would be, you come up to someone and they're arguing with you, and they're like, "Why you pull me over? Why did this happen? Blah blah blah." And once in my situation, the guy had a gun on his passenger seat, and I was walking up to the car, and he was like, "What you want?" And he had his hand out the window with his ID or whatever, but he had his hand like this on the gun. So they paused it, and they were like, "You didn't see that gun?" I'm like, "No, I didn't see the gun," and that right there could have been a fatal mistake. And it was another scenario where I actually killed the guy, because he fidgeted too much, and I was like, "Hey, get back in your car." He was starting to get out of his car. He was mad. He was like, "Man, you shouldn't have pulled me over. Why you pulled me over?" He was really. I said, "Calm down, sir. Calm down, calm down." And now I've pulled my gun. I have pulled my gun. I have no police training, mind you. No police training. Not an officer. But my first instinct, and seeing him getting out the car and moving towards, this is it's not even a real life situation. But I have to take it as that.
Yeah, it's human instinct. You want to protect yourself.
It's human instinct. I shot this guy like 7 times. And then the officer afterward, they'll ask you, say, "Why did you shoot him so many times?" And I was stuck at that question. I said, "I don't know." I just kept squeezing. He was like, "Well, you didn't think to just shoot one time? Maybe shoot at his knee and just take his knee out." I said, "That would probably been a harder shot for me to shoot someone's knee. I probably would have missed." "So you shot him in his chest, the biggest part of his body, to make sure he went down?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, because even when I was shooting that many times, I missed a lot."
So we know you're not a good shot.
I'm not a good shot.
I wouldn't be a good shot either, honestly.
But the moral of the story is that when people are like, "Well, why did that officer shoot that black man so many times?" And you go through a simulator like that, when you're not an officer, this is why I have I've had a newfound respect for officers, but that simulator helped me have a newfound respect for all officers of the law. I'm not in their position every day. I don't see what they see every day. That's a nerve-wracking situation when someone is being very belligerent. Their emotions is going up. They're yelling, they're moving around. You want this person to be as still as possible, because as I come up to the car, I don't know what's going on in your head. I don't know how your day has been. And that right there alone has nothing to do with racism. It has nothing to do whether he's a police officer asserting his authority. He's protecting his life. It's period. He's protecting his life. And for us as a community, we have to understand that we're not in a lot of these positions. So I can't speak on a position of a mayor. I've never been a mayor. I can't say what I would do. A lot of people say, "Hey, I would do this. I would do this." But you've never been in that position. You've never been any type of in position of authority or a position to make decisions, split decisions that will affect lives. So we have to be a community of understanding each person's role. Yes, there are some things that happen that probably are not right. That probably are racially motivated. Let's handle that situation as that situation then. But don't make every situation that involves a white person killing a black person a racist motivated situation. It's not. Because there has to be understanding. And that's me as a black man speaking, and I've been in situations like that. I've been pulled over. I got pulled over and I complied, and he was like, "Hey, where are you going?" Actually, one time I was pulled over. My driver's license, not my driver's license, but my plate was expired.
Oh, okay.
But it was only 1 month, right? And he pulled me over by the AutoZone right there across from Armstrong.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like right there in the parking lot right there. He pulled me over, and he walked up to the car, and I have tinted windows. So he said, "Let your windows down." I let the windows down. I had just did my mental health. This was back in July. I had did a mental health workshop at the library. So all my stuff was in the back seat. So you see like stuff that says, "I'm a survivor of suicide, help prevent suicide, wristbands," stuff like that, right? So as he's talking to me, he said, "What did you do for a living?" And it was kind of odd that he just asked me that. And I'm like, I said, I actually work at Armstrong, actually.
Oh, okay.
I actually work at Armstrong. So I was like, I actually work at Armstrong. He said, "But what do you do? Like, you have a..." I said, "Well, I'm an advocate for the AFSP, the American Suicide for Prevention for Suicide." And he said, "Oh, okay." And I said, I just had a talk. I'm just coming from a talk that I had, a workshop that I just had. He said, "Okay, I'm asking because I see the stuff in your back seat." He said, "Well, thank you for the work that you're doing with spreading that awareness. Thank you." He said, "You know what? Get that sticker changed, man. You go ahead. I got other things to do. But get that sticker. I'm just letting you know your sticker is expired if you didn't know. It's only a month. It was like due in June and it was July. So he was just like, you probably didn't." But like things like that. And this was a white guy. This is a white police officer. Did I think he was racist approaching the car? No. It's those times where we have to have that understanding that he's doing a job. He's doing his job. My sticker is expired. He's doing his job for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And certain things now that I look at when things happen like that, it happened for a reason, especially for me, for a person that came from not liking police officers.
Yeah.
So for me to have that good interaction with a police officer, police are not all bad.
No, there are bad ones, obviously. Like George Floyd. That was horrible.
Now that is horrible. That's a situation where we treat that as, for what it is.
Yeah.
That was recorded. That was horrible. But every situation is not like that. Every time an officer pulls you over, comply with the officer. Just do what he asks. And 9 times out of 10, he's just doing it. Like I say, it's about understanding. And for us as a community, we have to understand each other. If we don't understand, or if we don't have that sense of empathy, that's really what it is. It's empathizing with the other person's profession, their life, that they are a human being, and they're just trying to make a living, and they're doing what they like to do. He became a police officer for a reason. He became the chief or whatever for a reason. And I believe that's, with love, of course, love, care, empathy, sympathy for others. We repair the damage of the past by loving each other and caring for each other not so quick to jump to a conclusion that, again, that this was racially motivated, not jumping to judgment so quickly. That's how the years prior to us, the 400, 500, whatever years that this community went through this, the Hispanics went through this, the whites went through this, whatever. I really don't like that, that terminology with the color thing,
Yes.
I hate that, you know what I mean? Because that's even in itself, because you're placing someone in a category.
Yes.
We're human. We're human beings, because you have a different skin tone, different eye color, nose shape, whatever. It's a purpose that God made us different. It's a purpose for that. But what is not different is our heart, our mind, our blood. These things are the same. We still function, and we still need water to survive. We still need oxygen. I don't know anything that's surviving without oxygen. A human, anything that's
Yes.
that's
Yep.
organic.
We all need the same necessities.
We all need the same necessities. That doesn't change for anything.
No.
And we all get 24 hours. We all have the same amount of time, no matter who you are. I don't care if you're a billionaire, if you're Bezos, or what's his name?
Yeah, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
He still gets 24 hours.
Yep.
That's his time. We all share the same thing. And that's our commonality. We share those commonalities with each other. And we just have to really just be understanding. I can't, say it enough, but it's just about understanding each other.
It really is, when it comes down to it, it really is simple. And obviously what you're saying is very simple. Understanding, and we're all human. We're all trying to accomplish the same things, happiness.
Yeah.
And we all need the same necessities, so it really comes down to being simple and letting go of those conditioned thoughts and feelings from over the years, kind of letting them go. Me being a white person, fearing someone who has a color of skin, and then a person that has a color of skin having a fear of a white person. I feel like both there's those fears. Those fears might be different fears, but there's still that fear there that maybe was conditioned by the people, like I said, parents, elders of any sort.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's
and I feel like sometimes those conditions were sometimes doing those things without even realizing it. And it might not be a bad thing either. Or like something like being outrightly racist against someone else. Nothing like that per se, but just like small things. Just with our mindset, we think, that other person of color is walking our way, and you automatically kind of get scared. Like, are they going to hurt me? Like, are they going to,
Yeah. The best thing that we could do, is, this is my philosophy of life, is don't take everything so serious. Get along with, try to get along with everybody. And that could be different ways. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean like I have to kiss your butt or anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
My goal is to get along with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting along with you just fine right now. Honestly, this is awesome. This is really great. I am so grateful for your time and sharing your story so in depth, and literally getting teary-eyed hearing some of these things. Like, honestly, thank you.
Man,
thank you so much for all the work that you're doing, and you've got my full support.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
I think what you're doing is much needed, and whatever I can do to help, you just let me know. So
I'm grateful for the Kankakee Podcast. You having me on and running into you at the kickball.
yeah, I hope that'll come back next summer.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna be ready though. I'm gonna do my stretches.
Maybe you and I will have what do they call that? Conditioning training or what?
It's conditioning.
Conditioning. Yeah. We'll have some conditioning sessions to get us ready for the big kickball game.
The big game, right?
And so we ended up to get back to just real quick. So there was 2 games that we played that day, and it was first it was adults versus the kids, which the adults won that one. We won that one. But then the second game we played that day, we mixed everyone up. So it was teenagers and adults, and then another team of teenagers and adults. I think I can't remember if we were on the same team or on separate teams. I think we might have been on separate teams.
I think we was on separate teams.
I think you were on Kent's team, right?
Yeah, I was on Kent's team,
and I was not. So, but I think you guys are the ones that won.
I believe so.
Yeah. So the team I was on lost,
and then we were only going to like 5, I think. At that time.
It was right.
Like really short.
Yeah. It was cut really short, but yeah, we're gonna be ready next summer. We're gonna have conditioning camps or work days.
Yeah, we're gonna start in the spring. We're gonna have to start
we're gonna have to start as early as possible.
Start as early, so like when the summer comes.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're ready.
Yeah, we'll start. Middle of March, beginning of April, I think, in order to be ready.
That's perfect. That's perfect time. Yeah, and we're going there and just like really tough and destroy those kids. And we're like, well, these guys been training.
They won't know what hit them, man.
They won't know. They won't know. We're gonna come in and just destroy. We're gonna have our game faces on, just ready to just destroy some kids.
Or put that black paint or what is the black stripes under the eyes or whatever that the football players do.
Oh yeah, and have the real fierce, strong faces. No
have jerseys. We need to get jerseys.
Get jerseys. Yeah, that'd be nice. We get like jerseys. It'll have the leaders or what were we? The community leaders. Community leaders versus teenagers.
Yeah. I'm glad we're getting this all planned out now because it's going to take some time to get this all together. You, me, Kent, and the mayor, and
Kent had knee pads on, so we know he's got.
Well, I remember him talking when he was on the podcast. I remember him talking about him like having bad knees or something from.
Oh, really?
I think if I remember correctly, from I don't know if it was from playing basketball or other injuries, but I thought him saying he said something about his knees or.
Yeah,
kind of shaky. But
I'm gonna have some knee pads on too, the knee sleeves to support my knees.
We got to have that support. Support that hamstring.
Oh man, it's so needed, man. Because I was so sore, I couldn't even sit in the car.
Oh man,
I was like just stretching out my leg under the, like driving.
Yeah.
You're trying to press the gas, and I was just like kind of driving with
that
one hand,
painful.
And it was painful.
Oh man,
it was like a month.
Glad you're okay now.
Yeah.
But real quick, before we close out, where can people? I know you have an Apply Pressure Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
So how can people, find you online, or if maybe they want you to be involved in an event that they're doing, or whatever it is? How can people contact you?
So my Facebook page is not private, but it's public. So. Anyone can send me a friend request.
Look for Derek Grant.
Derek Grant is no, funny names. My profile picture actually is Robin Williams.
Oh yes, that's right. I noticed that the other day.
It's a picture of Robin Williams. I was a big fan of him. Just side note.
I love Robin Williams.
And he was a person that took his life on suicide. So,
yep.
But great guy. But I do have a Facebook page, Apply Pressure to Brand. You can add that, and then you can send a message on there. I typically respond, right away. And if you want me to do an event, I've done events where you want my brand or, the brand to be a part of it, shirts or something like that. Just message me on the page, the Facebook page. I used to have a website. The website fees are kind of
they can be high.
Yeah,
especially if you're like running a store on them or anything like that.
Yeah, so I don't have the actual website for ordering anything like that, but you can go to the Facebook page and message me on there, and I will take your order and however you want to do, hoodie, T-shirt, hat.
I love your jacket.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like a Letterman jacket, right? I think that's what they call those style of jackets.
Letterman.
Right? Letterman jacket, and it's got your logo on it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I have these as well. I think up to 2X sizes.
Okay.
Men and women. Yeah, and
I've been so terrible. I still have not purchased a shirt from Kent, and I need to purchase one from you too. And it's so terrible because he was on the show like literally like the beginning of it when I started this podcast, like back in, the early or the spring, early summer.
Okay.
And I still haven't gotten one from him. And Kent, if you're listening, I promise I'm going to get one. I'm so sorry. Don't hate me.
And Kent, man, he's an understanding guy, man. And,
yes, he is.
He's been really influential to my life and stepping into speaking. Also being a person that's to be able to speak. I was on the Shake the Fear Conference 21, one of the headline speakers for that, and that went very well. And that's the first time I've ever like really got up and spoke like that. So shout out to Kent, man, just for being a guy that just help people.
Yeah. He's amazing at what he does, and just shaking the fear.
Right?
That's the best way to, he's so that phrase he has is just just like apply pressure. They're both life changing, and they're only shake the fear, 3 words. Yours is 2 words. It's so simple yet so life changing.
So life changing, and he has an incredible story too.
Yes, he does.
And I can go on about that guy, man, because he's definitely a pillar in the community, and he has been doing it for a year. So if anybody wants to look at an example of how we should really, be in the community, take an example from Kent. He's definitely one of those guys that's for the community, that's for the city of Kankakee.
I agree. All right. Well, Derek, thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes this episode of Kankakee Podcast. I'm Jake LaMore. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe or follow wherever it is that you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all of those. And while you're at it, if you are an Apple user, please leave us a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Kankakee Podcast. If you want to reach out to me about being on the show as well, there's a contact form that you can fill out at kankakeepodcast.com. And you can also sign up for our mailing list there as well. And our theme song is by Lupe Carroll.
People tend to stick to